Robin, did you remember to pack the picnic hamper? I'm doing that, Sally dearest. Just a second. The hamper is a cute little knick-knack made of wicker. It looks like something Red Riding Hood might carry, skipping through the forest on our way to see her sick grandmother. Sally tried her hardest to make today as perfect as possible. She woke up at 6 AM on the dot, when the birds began to chirp on the telephone poles to prepare this meal for the three of us, our happy family. It's 7:30 in the morning now, the sun sleepily peeking out through the clouds, and we're all dressed, ready to face a new day. Even Melody is awake before noon, a rarity for her on weekends. Well, it's a big occasion. She sits at the table, doubled over like a tomato plant that's come loose from its supports. She nurses a cup of coffee in her pale hands, hiding behind our curtains of long black hair, so it's hard to see her face. Well, at least she's awake. That's something, I suppose. See, now this is where I'm really starting to get concerned, because she has black hair, just like Belle. We haven't seen her face. So, either this person, this Belle, is someone he's made up in his head to, like, try and cope with, like, the loneliness of being in a dead-end marriage and being kind of a deadbeat father, to kind of cope with the overwhelming angst and loneliness he feels of being in this relationship, or she's a succubus taking on the form of his daughter or something just to fuck with him. I don't know, it seems strange, I'm not so sure. I take the basket with me and nudge my way through the front door. The boot of the car is already open, loaded with umbrellas and raincoats. It seems like a bit of an odd mix, packing items used to protect oneself from the rain in a picnic basket plus blanket. They seem mutually exclusive somehow. Oh well, if Sally wants to have a picnic in the rain, I suppose that we'll have a soggy or not. Sally's sandwiches always taste nice. I read that completely off topic, I'm sorry. I deposit the basket in the boot alongside the umbrella, then turn back towards the house. I don't make it more than 3 paces, however, when I pause. There's something soft rubbing against my leg, a distinctly familiar sensation. It's a cat. A black cat. I know, right away. It isn't Belle. Belle's eyes were far greener than that. How do you know? But the cat still catches me off guard. It feels like an omen, a portent of misfortune. Robin, what are you doing? I jumped guiltily, though I don't know why I feel guilty. I'm not doing anything wrong. Oh, nothing. Just a little bit waylaid, that's all. Waylaid. I start to panic. Why am I panicking? There's nothing suspicious about being nuzzled by a cat, is there? Oh, I see. You've made a friend. How cute. Yeah, I guess I'm pretty popular. A real ladies' man. I've seen a black cat a lot like this one hanging around the neighborhood lately. You've seen her? Oh, you have you? It was the most peculiar thing. Such bright green eyes. Oh, God, you don't say. So she has been watching them. That's how she knows about Melody. That would explain why Belle seems to know almost everything about me. Does she slink around my front garden often, trying to peer into our windows? The thought is unsettling. I haven't seen the cat with bright green eyes for a while now, though. I think she was a stray. Didn't have a collar. I bet she was abandoned, the poor thing. Sally's eyes. People really are horrible. They think a cat is something for Christmas, but can't commit to them for life. I feel sorry for her. The interesting thing is with house cats, is that if you leave them out in the wild, they'll be just fine. Like, they literally go about, saunter about all they do, and then they get food from other neighbours by using their charms and their willy-nilly natures, basically. That's why I can't really stand cats. There's no loyalty there. People could say the same thing for dogs by saying, oh well, it's just blind loyalty. Yes. That's what loyalty stands for. Being able to devote yourself to one person and one person alone, and one animal and one animal alone, that's called commitment, you know? Something that most modern relationships don't seem to grasp or understand, really. If only you knew, Sal. If Sally hates people who can't commit to keeping a pet, I had to know what she would think about me. I can't even commit to my own wife. But I don't tell Sally this. I can't. There's just no way. She'd think I've lost my mind. You have lost your mind. For a few brief moments, I wonder if I have. That's the funny thing about, like, Arnold Schwarzenegger. If you've heard about, like, what he's done with his housemaid, and I'm thinking to myself, I mean, can you really blame him? Imagine, like, going to America after being, like, a weightlifter in Austria for so long, being, like, you know, Mr. Universe and all that, going to the country, not knowing a lick of English, bam, he gets a movie role. And then he thinks, sod it, I think I'm going to marry a Kennedy. Fuck off, there's no way you can do that. Bam, he goes and marries a Kennedy. So isn't it any wonder why he thought so big of himself that he thought he could get away with banging a maid? Also, why aren't we talking about the maids here? She immediately tries to get compensation out of it, and I'm thinking to myself, screw you! You both are just as bad in this in its own retrospect. She should have been fired and not given anything out of that fucking relationship. It was terrible. Not that I'm saying that cheating is bad, but can you blame the guy for thinking that he could get away with it after the shit that he's done and managed to accomplish? Like, fucking hell. The drive to Whitby is more or less uneventful. Melly sits in the back seat of the car, curled up on herself with her head against the window, but she doesn't say anything. I didn't expect her to. I can see her face in the rearview mirror every once in a while. She's plugged into her MP3 player, the tiny buds crammed into her ears, leaving not a single cranny for extraneous noise to filter in from the outside world. She's listening to her music, whatever it is, at such a high volume I can hear it just faintly in the front of the car. I wonder what kind of music Melly likes. I don't know, because I've never asked. This guy's just painting himself to be more and more of a knob of a father for never even, like, asking what she enjoys. There's so much about my own daughter I don't know. I sigh, tapping my fingers against the steering wheel. At least we're all together. Sally, Melly and me. We sit underneath the same roof, brought together inside this tiny tin can of a car that has no count for something, right? That has to count for something, right? I'll make it count for something. Yeah, until a roadblock comes. We're going on a family trip. Today isn't about me, it's about my daughter. I don't want to be selfish anymore, but we know you are. Hey, maybe the weather will be nice after all. I try to engage Sally in light conversation, peering out through the front window of the road. I was about to say roof then. Everything looks slightly discoloured through the glass, and it makes the motorway look even greyer than usual. It's kind of depressing. At least the sun is shining. The sun has never seen fit to make an entrance during our previous family outings to Whitby. Maybe it was struck down with stage fright. I wonder if this was a good sign. An omen, maybe? Not that I believe in omens. You really should, mate. I didn't, at least until I met Belle. Sally, however, doesn't seem to share my optimism. Instead, she crosses one leg over the other, her eyes narrowed. Just you wait, Robin. We'll need those umbrellas soon enough. Right, we'll see about that. I'll bet you £10, Sally Pally. I can always tell when it's gonna rain. Like, give me one cloud and I could probably estimate when it's gonna happen within 30 to 40 minutes. If you have one grey cloud, then that is a sign that more will roll in at one point. Depending on the clouds as well, because I think the heavier the clouds, like, the more clouds there are, the more heavier the rain, due to the moisture being caught up in them, basically. Okay, you're on. Let's see who's right. You kind of get an estimation of when that's going to happen when you live in a rainy country like England. And smiling smugly to herself, Sally leans back in her seat and stares out of the window. By the way, Robin. Yes? Excuse me. You owe me £10. Shit. Yes, I do. Alright, alright. Don't sound so pleased with yourself. Did you want it to start raining? I didn't, but I had a feeling it might. It's rained every other time we came here. I didn't see a reason for it to change now. So you were going by past experiences, were you? Yes, that and the fact it clearly said it was going to rain on the news this morning. See, now this is nice. We're actually starting to get to know a little bit more of Sally. We're starting to grow closer. We're starting to converse, basically. This is what I really didn't like about the first 4 hours of gameplay, is that we were just focused on Belle and the selfishness of him, that we're kind of taken away from the family and the daughter. We know nothing about the wife and daughter. So it'd be nice to get some positive points from them, so we know that what we're doing, you know, to them is making us guilty. I want to know why he's feeling so guilty for his wife and daughter for this, because obviously they're nice people. Surely they're nice people, but obviously relationships over the time, some of them go stale, or some of them have rocky patches, basically, which they're going through right now. And she even says it herself, we're going through a rough patch. You know, it's something to get over. I want to learn a little bit more about Sally, and I want to learn a little bit more about Melly. Like, why on earth is he thinking to do this stuff? I don't know why people cheat. I've never in my life cheated, and I can't understand why people do it. Like, is it just out of necessity, or is it just out of laziness? I don't get it. I just don't understand the whole point of it. I take a step backwards as though wounded, my eyes comically wide. You mean you were cheating this whole time? You're one to talk, mate. I wouldn't call it cheating. It's more like using whatever resources you have at hand to ensure your victory. That's true. That's fair. You can use however many pretty words you want, Sally Pally. Sounds like cheating to me. I'd throw you out of Vegas on the spot for sure. Oh, those people are losers. I think if you are smart enough to count cards, I think that's fine. You know, that just shows you're a cut above the rest. Compared to, like, say, stuffing your hands, like your wrist cloth full of cards, that's different. That's a different type of cheating. But using mathematical equations to basically count the cards you have in each deck, that's just... If you're that intelligent, fucking, I think you deserve to win. Sorry, you're just using your own intelligence. I completely skipped over what I just said. Sally only smiles, nudging me in the side with her elbow. It's a good thing we aren't in Vegas then, isn't it? Oh, you're evil. Practically the devil incarnate. And isn't that why you married me? Oh, so he's got a type then. Maybe it was. I've always been something of a masochist, I'll admit. When a child who willingly dedicated hours upon playing Fer Elise in their grandfather's dusty old study must have some masochistic tendencies tucked away somewhere. These are some classic pieces he's talking about, very nice. It's just not possible to focus on such a grueling task without a touch of masochism, sorry. Particularly when making music. It's not that rewarding. Not instantly, at least. You have to work on it, kind of like marriage. I wonder if the wedding band on my finger is another strike against me. The three of us, Sally, Melly and I, are tramping dutifully around the ruined Whitby Abbey, located high on this hill, high on this high hill of high hills. As Sally predicted, the rain still hasn't let up, and it's particularly strong rain. More like a light, ever-present mist, but it's enough to make me shiver all the same. Thank goodness Sally had the foresight to pack those umbrellas, otherwise we'd look like a family of drowned rats. Given the rain, Whitby Abbey is devoid of tourists. I suppose most people don't fancy wandering around a bunch of old ruins, even if they are very old ruins, when there's a chance they might get wet. I don't really mind. It makes everything seem more private. This abbey has a long history. Apparently it's where Bram Stoker came to draw his inspiration for Dracula. I wonder or turn examining the stone walls and vaulted arches that seem to grow out of the muddy ground. Without a roof, the abbey doesn't look like a real building. I could just as well be in the ruins of Atlantis. It's wet enough. The interesting thing with Bram Stoker is that version of Dracula. I don't know. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like the idea of vampires, but over the years they've just become so romanticized to the point where they're mostly just fan fiction bait at this point, you know? I feel like if something has so much popularity, sooner or later the idea of it just gets so run down into the ground that it's no longer usable. I don't know, I feel like it should be used for something more like a mystic thriller if you're going to use it in a series. Kind of like what they did recently where, you know, they brought Dracula into the modern day, but they spent most of the first 4 or 5 episodes in the past, so it didn't feel like out of place when he was modernized, basically. So then when he was modernized, it kind of like had a bit less of a impact in a certain sense, but that's fine. I don't mind it, because the whole point of Bram Stoker's Dracula was that he was a periodical like entrepreneur or an aristocrat in the early 14th, 15th century, well, depending on when, you know, he wrote him, basically, or whereabouts he would write him. But it's interesting, though. Stranded on this hill, pelted by the rain, we'll also have an encounter with a pale-skinned, blood-sucking monster. Well, let's hope not. A few days ago, I would have shaken my head at this foolish fancy, and snorted at my own self-indulgence. Now, however, it doesn't seem too far beyond the realms of possibility. I've already met Belle, and she's about as vampy as they come. Minus the sharp incisors, of course. Well, don't test her. The wind is beginning to pick up. It whips at the umbrella held in my hand, threatening to blow it inside out. I hate when that happens. It's so embarrassing, practically when other people start to stare at you in the street as though it never happened to them. Fortunately, Melly, Sally and I are the only ones here. If I fail to control my wild umbrella, grappling with it as a bullfighter might attempt to avoid the horns of their designated bull, nobody will ever be around me to fall in the line of duty. I think I might have mixed my smiles up a little there. Well, I'm not a translator like Sally. I'm just a music teacher. Speaking of Ellie, I'm not sure where she is. I think she went off on her own to explore the ruins. See, I'm starting to think she is. I didn't get a chance to talk to her, but I swear she was smiling. That at least was a comfort. Hey, Robin. I was so ensconced in my thoughts I almost forgot Sally was here. Maybe it's because of this hill. High places do that to me. They draw me into my own personal little revere, and I start to blank everything else out. What is it, Sal? I'm not really a fan of all this rain. I think I might go to the Greens. The tea shop? I thought she meant Gretna Green in Scotland. Of course, I mean the tea shop. Where else would I meet Gretna Green in Scotland? Okay, I was just thinking, what if this is all in his head? Because, I don't know, I feel like there's a theory of... I don't know, something in my head is just telling me that the daughter who he thinks is his daughter isn't his daughter, but is actually Belle. And I think they lost their child. But in his mind, he's just thinking in his own mind that his wife and daughter are still here, but he's just coping with that fact. But we see small little tidbits of realism with the wife and him arguing with each other. Maybe like over like losing their child or something. I don't know. I'm just really excited to see where this story is going to go, basically. That's a fair point. The three of us have been coming here on family trips for years and years. Now I know Greens almost as well as I know the back of my hand, and when I say it, that cliche means something. Most people don't spend all that much time examining their hands, but most people aren't pianists like me. Okay, mate. If you play the piano, you get into the habit of paying more attention to your hands than other people. They're kind of important component to your craft. Okay, you can still play using your knuckles and whatever. I haven't played the piano much lately though, not properly. In any case, Green is a humble little cafe, only a short walk away from the Abbey, at the base of the sloping hill and by the river. Now, there's a fun fact you want to know. In the Netherlands, in Amsterdam, as you know, there are different types of coffees and cafe shops, basically. And of course, we all know drugs are legal over there, you know, weed and all that stuff. Now, the differences between the two is if you want coffee or tea, you go to a cafe. But if you want marijuana, ganja, or some freaky deaky stuff, you go to a coffee shop, apparently. I wouldn't know. The interior decor is mainly comprised of wood, and it has that comforting, homey smell that seems strangely absent from chains like Starbucks and Costa. Though I like Greens, I find myself frowning regardless. It's small-owned businesses that make the difference, you know. They're close and tight-knit family groups. I thought this was meant to be... Oh, fuck me, I should have paused. I thought this was meant to be a family trip. It is a family trip, but more than that, I wasn't expecting this was supposed to be like Robin and Millie bonding exercise. Okay. I opened my mouth, closed it again. I can't argue with that. Sally's right. Unfortunately, it seems the two of you haven't done all that much talking. We've been talking, just not in her own form. Maybe not, but at least we're within a mile radius of each other. That's saying something. You're in a mile's radius of each other in the house. What difference does that make? That may be, but you haven't said anything to her yet, have you? I rub the back of my neck. You sure say it like it is, Sal, don't you? Well, yeah, because you're being an asshole. That because I'm a realist. I see things how they truly are. I don't get lost in daydreams like you do, Robin. And again, she has another point. Sal's always been made of stronger stuff than me, though she does so often favour the soft pastel-coloured things. Anyway, I think you and Millie need some time alone. Try and talk to her a little. Ask her some questions. I think she'll appreciate it. I can hardly tell Sally that the thought of interacting with my own daughter fills me with dread. My stomach feels cold, like I've always swallowed a mouthful of dirty water from the bottom of a well. A gulp. I gulp, sorry. Well, we all need to face up to our fears eventually. I know deep down what I'm scared of isn't Melly, not really. Wait a minute. I got a theory. Hold on. What if he did something to his own daughter? Like, terrible, you know, like something terrible. She is trying her best to stay away from him, like she's avoiding him at all costs. And this being, this Belle, is like a representation of her, but it's also the dark, twisted form of the father of Robin, basically, meshed into this one being that is trying to punish him for the misdeeds that he's done. I don't know. It feels weird. Like, this whole thing is got me thinking different weird scenarios of how this could all play out. I'm really excited to figure out what the hell is happening with, like, Belle and Robin and Melly and all that. It's disappointing, huh? Yeah, I'm sure it is, dear. No man wants to be a disappointment to their child. In my own enduring cowardice, I must have decided being distant was better. He even calls himself a coward. Why? I was wrong, of course. I often am. Right. You're right, Sal. I'll try to talk to her. And we couldn't have picked a more miserable day to do it either. That's perfect. That's England for you. That's just me, though. I don't like the rain, but I think Melly does. Maybe that's because when rains, few people go outside. It might be hard trying to talk to Melly now, though she isn't here. I lent her my keys a couple of minutes ago. Said she left something in the car, maybe her umbrella. Good. I know it might be hard, but taking the first step is important. We also met Belle when it was raining as well. Like, I'm just finding it weird to... It's weird to see those similarities between them, basically. Melly likes the rain, Belle was spotted in the rain. Rain doesn't affect her. I laugh awkwardly, rubbing the back of my neck with one hand. Why does he keep rubbing the back of his neck? What is the whole Why does he keep saying he rubs the back of his neck? Like, maybe it's a sign like, oh yeah, I'm, you know, nervous or some shit like that. But I don't know. It feels weird. I didn't tell her, but Sally still knew what I was thinking. I wonder how women's intuition, Mars and Venus, align somewhere up in space. Or maybe it's something softer, quieter, rather than understands than that. Quieter rather than more understanding that. The English is terrible. Yeah, I'm not really into horoscopes and all that shit, mate. She knows how I feel because she cares about me. Well, I should hope so. She loves me. Of course she does. She's your wife, mate. Sometimes I do wonder, but nobody understands me like Sally does. Sally Pally. I wish you stopped calling her Pally. Now. Sally holds her hand out, the palm facing heavenwards. About that £10 you owe me? I laugh at her audacity. I can't help myself. You're ruthless. Forget being a translator, you should be a lawyer. No thank you. I feel too guilty extorting other people. But you have no qualms about extorting your husband. Well, yeah. Give and take, baby. That's different. You vowed that you would always love me, come hell or high water. That is true. Doesn't stop most of those celebrities you read about in those gossip magazines. Don't stop most of the kids' parents at school either. It certainly doesn't stop Arabella Waite. Okay. Yes, well, you just try to divorce me, Robin. Hell have no fury, you know. I know. With a small smile, I take my wallet out of my pocket and hand the money over to Sally. Here you go. Don't spend it all at once. Thank you kindly. Sally takes the money out of my hand and slips the slightly crumpled £10 note into her back pocket. That reminds me of a bet I had with my mother. We had a bet that it would rain by the time I got from Brighton to London when I did a bike ride, basically. I was going to go to London because that's where we were going to meet for a theatre watch, basically. We were going to see Les Miserables. And I said to her, right, you take the train, I'll take a bike, we'll see who gets there before it rains, basically. I unfortunately had to pay her 50 quid. Now granted, the money was high, but I felt confident. I had the wind at my back, and I felt I could do it, you know? I felt like I could make the rain, you know? But, no. It was a Sunday wet afternoon the whole trip up there. Safe to say I caught a cold for it as well. It wasn't fun. I watch, framed by the ruins of Whitby Abbey, as Sally walks down the hill. Her blonde bun, pinned to the top of her head, bounces with every single step she takes. Even after all these years, she's still the same old Sally. I am married, my Sally Pally. I shake my head, sighing. Guilt creeps up on me, an almost palpable thing with cold, cold hands that makes me shiver. What on earth am I doing to Sally, to Nellie? This needs to stop. I need to stop it all now. What started out as an innocent distraction has gone too far, and I'm starting to get scared. I must be scared, otherwise I wouldn't be shaking like this. So, she's finally gone. Thank God. I thought she was never going to leave. I feel those familiar hands, no longer a figment of my imagination, but unquestionably, unabashedly real, loop around my back. The touch sends shards of ice shooting through my blood, chilling it more effectively than cold water ever could. Belle? I don't turn around. I stand there, staring out at the roofs of the houses, spread beneath me like a blanket. Is it just my imagination, or has the wind started to pick up again? It feels even colder than it did before. So you came back. Of course I did. I said that I would, didn't I? I'm always with you, wherever you go. That's odd. I thought cats didn't like the rain. I don't. That's why I'm not going to stay here long. It's making my hair frizz. I would hate for royalty like you to ruin your hair over for a peasant like me. Perhaps you should just take your leave. Are you telling me to go, Robin? It might be. It might be easier that way. Sure. It might be easier, but I'm not going to do what you want just because it'll make things easier. That's a terrible way to talk to a woman, Robin, particularly a woman who's in love with you. Now look here. I break free from Belle's icy cold grasp and inhale the cool, rain-splattered air greedily. There's something about Belle's presence, even when I can't see her face, that's so overwhelming, it's hard for me to think straight. Being embraced by her white, skinny arms feels like sinking slowly into the bottom of a dark, black sea. It's suffocating. Spine-chilling. I might say if this were a Hammer House of horror production, which it isn't. Thank heaven for small mercies. Well, you'll probably get your wish sooner or later, bud. Belle stands there, looking much the same as ever. She foregone her school uniform today. I suppose that makes sense, given it's Saturday, and instead wears a dark coat. The coat looks familiar for some reason, but I can't quite place it. So does the umbrella she's holding, shielding her hair from the rain. If he says that's the umbrella my daughter has, I'm convinced that this is Millie. The umbrella is pretty cute, now that I looked a little bit more closely. It's black, emblazoned with a pattern of repeating white rectangles. It's fashioned after a piano. I bought Melly an umbrella like that long... No. This is Melly. This is fucking Melly. This is Melly. I don't care what you say. This is his fucking daughter. And I'm thinking to myself, why is he thinking of his daughter like this? What is going on? Or why is she making herself look like Melly? Is this her sick way of trying to get him to reconnect with his daughter? Like, I don't know. What is this? I bought Melly an umbrella like that a long time ago when I first started teaching and how to play. I don't think she ever used it though. I don't know if I blame her. It was presumptuous of me, just like her name. I think you're the one who needs to look here, Robin. Belle's eyes are just as green as ever, so bright they pierce through the gloom and the darkness. They almost seem to glow. This can't work anymore, Robin. You know it can't. What do you mean? You can't play at being a good husband and a father whilst being my beloved at the same time. Many people have done it before. Beloved? Do you really need to question that? I already told you that I love you. You did, but I don't know. Maybe you were just playing around. Playing around? Belle raises one eyebrow. Gone are her mischievous smiles, her light-hearted laughter. I kind of miss it. I don't like this new Belle, serious and intense with those huge eyes that refuse to blink no matter how long I stare into them. That's so sad. Even though I explained my feelings to you, you still don't understand. You don't understand at all. I've always been rather dense. Sally was the one who asked me out first. She was chasing after me for weeks, and I didn't realise. Like I care about Sally. Like you care. Stop trying to fool yourself. But she's my wife. So what? That doesn't mean anything. Why should you care about your wife when you have me? I've known Sally for almost 18 years. And you've known me for 30. This isn't the same, Belle. No, it isn't. It's not the same because she doesn't love you the way I love you. She can only love you as a human woman can, complaining and insulting and always finding faults. People are like that. They're so concerned with their own shortcomings that they pick on one another to make themselves feel better. It's not real happiness though, no matter what they tell themselves. It's all fake, hollow and empty. People are all hollow and empty. just like you were when you just bit and scratched me for no apparent reason, and only then when I saved you was when I became useful. You see, this is where the age-old saying, women and children and animals are loved unconditionally. But a man is only loved on the condition that he provides something, hence saving your life. Your love is misconstrued and not founded out of pure sincerity. You are only doing this to give a favour back to him. That's what it feels like. It doesn't feel like real love, Belle. I'm not like that. I love you for who you are. I've loved you from the moment I met you. No, you didn't, dear. No, you didn't. I don't believe that at all. What the fuck? I gasp. All of a sudden, I feel a sensation against my neck. It's warm, despite the cold wind that laces through my skin, my very bloodstream. Belle is standing behind me. I can feel her chest pressed against my back, her body flush against mine, like two pieces of a puzzle slotted together. Gone is her umbrella. I see it out of the corner of my eye, laying discarded on the ground. It's a shame. I like the umbrella. It's just like the one I got Melly. Why does he keep bringing her up? Why does he keep bringing this door up? It's hard to talk, hard to even think. There are lips against my chin, my collarbone trailing down my neck. Belle is pressing kisses against my skin fervently, hungrily, as though trying to claim every bit of my body for her own. I feel like a heroine in a horror story, like poor Lucy Westenra, who had her blood drained by Bram Stoker's mysterious count. I was right. I don't need a vampire. I already have a demon on my very own, who's doing her hardest to drag me down with her to hell. The burning kisses combined with an icy rain makes me tremble. My knees feel weak. I can hardly stand. It feels good. I'm sickened with myself that it feels so good, but it does, and I can't help it. It's hard to breathe. I taste the rain on my tongue. All of a sudden I recall what happened years and years ago, when I was trying to tread water in Great Aunt Clarice's lake, even though my head kept bobbing under and I couldn't help feel my fingertips anymore. I'm drowning again. I almost gave my life for Belle 30 years ago. Now she's coming back to finish the job.